Hi everyone, we're here at Conneaut Lake Vet today and another one of our programs for my dog and me, and today we have something a lot different because today we're going to introduce you and everybody who watches any of these productions a possum. But before we get to that point, I need to give a little bit of attention to my best friend here, Dr. Consla. Dr. Consla and wait, Janelle, right?
That's correct.
And they're from Tamarack
Wildlife Center.
Wildlife Center, and we're going to be talking about that. But first of all, I want to know what your connection is with Tamarack Wildlife.
So when I was a student at Allegheny College, I had a work study there, just cleaning cages and helping with rehab and stuff. And I was a technician here at the time, so I was able to help with some medications and things like that. And then when I went to vet school and came back, I still wanted to be involved because it's a good organization and they play a very important role in our community and the environment and things of that sort. And so I'm kind of like their sponsoring vet. So if there's something that needs some additional diagnostics, a second set of eyes to look at, something like that, we'll bring the animal out here and we'll talk and see what we can come up with and see if we can make a difference.
Okay, but before we go on about Tamarack, we're going to digress just for a minute and talk about the fact what you do. You take care of all the different type of animals in this area. Just give me 5 animals that you take, or 5 pets or animals or whatever they are that you take care of that most people don't want to touch.
Parrots, snakes,
mice,
chinchillas, toads.
That's pretty good.
Toads.
Because no one will do that. That's why that's wonderful that you're willing to do that stuff.
So any of those exotic species we're willing to see.
Is there anything you won't see?
Not yet.
Oh my Lord.
I mean, I don't do a lot of like large farm animal stuff, but from time to time I dabble.
But you do all those other things that people have for these crazy pets and that, and then of course you're involved with Tamarack.
Yeah, and I mean people have all different sorts of pets for different reasons. I mean it's certainly like let's take mice for example. You could have 2 or 3 mice in an enclosure in this space, and then you're good to go. If you have 3 dogs that size, it takes a lot of room. So there's advantages to the different sorts of things, different interests. And but they all need handled differently, and they have different needs and requirements.
Well, that one program that we did not too long ago, we did the birds, and you had in the smallest owl, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Smallest owl in Pennsylvania or wherever.
The saw-whet owl.
Right. And you had that, and then we had the turkey buzzard, and some other things. So I appreciate it, and we're hoping that our audience that watches this will be glad to learn more about Tamarack. And also Janelle and what she brought in here. So tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
My name is Janelle. I've been volunteering with Tamarack since 2014. I specialize in opossums. And Tamarack is a nonprofit organization that rehabilitates sick, injured, and orphaned wildlife. Ultimate goal is to have them released healthy. And then we do education programs.
Okay, and that's why you're here today.
That's why I'm here today.
Because Dr. Consla talked to me.
Because it's important to learn about. I think opossums are very important to know about and to learn about. They're very fascinating.
Well, right. When he brought up to me, he said, Sue, we're going to do a program on possum. I said, well, what? Why would we do a program on a possum? Does anyone really have them as a pet?
Some do, yes. Yes, you have to, if you do, you have to get them from a specialized breeder. There's licensing involved.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, let's bring out our person here, the possum. And what's this possum's name?
Her name is Prudence.
Prudence.
Prudence. She's 1.5 years old. And she knows at the end of this rainbow there's food.
Now, how, her name is Prudence.
It's Prudence.
Is she spayed?
She is not spayed. To spay a female possum is a very tricky endeavor. You have to remove all of
everything.
Yes, all the tissue.
Their anatomy is a little bit different, so it's a more involved sort of procedure.
Well, I'm sure people that are watching this right now, as I am saying to myself, who in heaven's name would want one of these? Or even most people, and I told you this, most people are not real fond of possums.
Exactly. They have a bad rap. There's a lot of misconception, misinformation about them. There's a lot of prejudice surrounding them. Opossums are North America's only marsupial.
Marsupial meaning?
Marsupial is a Greek word which is marsupium, which means pouch. They have a thin membrane. The females have a thin membrane on their lower abdomen, which contain the mammaries, and that is where they finish raising their young. When they give birth after a 13-day gestation period.
13 days?
13 days. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're born, the babies are about a ½ inch long. They are the size of a tiny bumblebee, completely undeveloped except for their front limbs, where they have like a little claw. So they make the 2-inch track from the birth canal into the pouch, where the mother has 13 mammaries. So 13 is a magic number for these guys.
And will they have that many babies?
They can have, there's records of them having up to 22. However, only 13 can survive because there's 13 mammaries. Right. So when they do find their way into the pouch, they will latch onto one of the mammaries, which swells up, and it forms a seal around their mouth. So for all intents and purposes, they are on that mammary permanently for about 2 months, nursing continually.
Okay. So for 2 months they stay in the pouch, and then whenever they come out of the pouch, how big are they? They're
about the size of a house mouse.
Like that?
Their eyes start opening about 2 months, and then they start to explore life outside of the pouch. If anybody's ever seen photographs of an opossum with the babies on the back, that's what's going on. When they get too large to fit in the pouch, they will cling on to the mother. They're with their mom for 4 to 5 months, learning how to forage, learning how to find dens, learning just the ways of being an opossum.
And you said something whenever you first came in, and you said that they've been in existence for how long, known to be in existence, how long?
70 million years. They're Jurassic. You're looking at one of the oldest living mammals today. They have incredible defense mechanisms against diseases and parasites. And how they got that number is they found fossilized records. Now there are about 65 different types of opossums that exist between South America and Australia, range in different colors and sizes. But what you're looking at here is North America's only marsupial.
Are they all this color?
They range
I thought
from.
They were more of a gray-white.
They do. Prudence has a little bit of a tie-dye thing going on here. She's because she's kept mainly indoors. Her winter coat's kind of a little confused at this point, so she is transitioning from this reddish color to this gray color with the undercoat coming in. But their colors, you can find them in albino color, leucistic colors, gray. The further south you go, the darker they are. So their home range, you can find them as far south as Costa Rica and as far north as Ontario, Canada. And you can find them along the west coast, east of the Rocky Mountains.
And how old is she?
She's 1.5 years.
And how big was she whenever you got her?
She was about...
Well, where did you get her? How'd she get to Tamarack?
Prudence is non-releasable. She was found, like most of the orphan opossums that come in, unfortunately, they get hit on the side of the road, which are due to their diet mainly, which I'll get into in a little bit. But she was found the only living survivor. Her mother had passed away and her siblings had passed away. Anytime you find wildlife, we urge you to contact a licensed wildlife rehabilitator. Do not try and take them into your home and raise them yourself. Prudence was kept a little longer than maybe she should have, and she requires a specialized diet now, and she has health issues.
She has a pretty good diet there. What's she eating?
She does. She is, so opossums are omnivores, which means they eat both plant and animal matter. They're opportunists, they're scavengers, they'll eat whatever they can, but she's enjoying some bok choy, some tomatoes, some carrots, she's got some cucumber.
It's better than we do.
She eats good, and I've got her very special treats in my hand for once she's done making my mess.
The food she's eating doesn't look so bad.
No, she eats about 80% vegetables, and then like 10% fruit, and then just a little bit of protein.
How often does she eat?
I feed her every single day, yeah. She gets her main meal in the morning, and then in the evening I throw some high quality dog kibble for her to search for and scavenge for, because that's what they do.
Okay, now we're going to ask, I'm anxious to ask you the question, and I asked you before we started this. I don't like possums because they're in my barn and they're trouble to me.
Okay.
Tell me, why are they in my barn? Why do I have to put up with possums scavenging in my barn in places that I don't want to see them?
Because they are scavengers.
Okay.
They're very beneficial to our environment because they're nature's sanitation and cleanup crew. Meaning, behind the scenes, they're cleaning up things that humans don't want to deal with, such as carrion, which means meat from a dead animal.
What's that called?
Carrion.
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 Like the carcass you see, you know,
like deer or
how do you spell that?
C-A-R-R-I-O-N.
Oh, carry-on. Okay, got it.
Not like the bag you take to the
Well, that's what I thought.
Or not like carry on my wayward son. The Kansas
carry on.
Carry on.
Which means again?
It means meat from a dead animal. If you see an animal that's hit on the side of the road, that is cuisine to these guys. Okay, and that's a lot of times how they end up getting hit. They're very nearsighted.
Do they have a great sense of smell or something
Absolutely.
to be able to know where the dead animal is, or
Absolutely.
what's dead in the forest or wherever?
Yes, that is their strongest sense, is their sense of smell. Their hearing is next. They're nearsighted, so they have poor eyesight. They're primarily nocturnal. But you know, there's not to be an alarm if you see them out in the daytime. Especially during the winter, you may see them feeding under your bird feeders because there's fallen seed there.
So it isn't like whenever we see a raccoon or something out and we think that they're rabid, that wouldn't be true. Because you told me she can't get rabies.
A possum's body temperature is very low. We're 98.6 degrees. Opossums range from average 90. Come here. You sure you don't want to feed her a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I'll think about it maybe later.
Opossums range from 90 to 95. For example, Prudence came in for her annual health exam with Dr. Consla here, and she had 90.6, which...
Wait, a dog or a cat, that's bad.
Yes.
Like that means things are not going well.
They're not going well.
And they're not in a good space.
Right.
But for, you know, she was walking around like this, you know, we tipped her up, got her temperature, 90.6, no big deal. But, you know, that's an interesting fact because that's one of the reasons why they're so resistant to so many diseases and a reason why things like the rabies virus can't grow very well because it needs a warmer temperature to be able to replicate and spread around the body. And so, you know, they get some of these different viruses and stuff and they just simply can't survive in the host.
What could she get that would be something that we would be aware that our dogs or our cats could get?
I think generally there aren't a whole lot of things. I mean, you know, probably a bite, wound, scratch is mostly what I've seen. There's probably some parasites that can maybe get into other hosts, but oftentimes they're, you know, species specific, so like it's going to affect the possum. It might get in the dog and just kind of go through, but, you know, not always cause issues. There's, I know a lot of debate out there about EPM, which is like an equine protozoal disease. Right. I don't know if you want to talk more about that.
Well, as far as that's concerned, there's a lot of fear with horse owners. Understandably so, EPM can result in your animal dying.
Neurologic stuff in horses.
Yes, so what happens is it is a two-part process. You have to have an intermediate host that carries this. The intermediate hosts are, for example, cats, skunks, raccoons, armadillos, and the sea otter. So in order for the opossum, which is the definitive host, so what that means is the protozoa finishes its life cycle in the opossum. In order for all that to happen, you have to have the components of the opossum ingesting, you know, any of those animals or their fecal matter, you know, if they have had fecal matter somewhere where the opossum is feeding. And then you have to have the opossum that, you know, that can finish its life cycle in. So it's all these different factors. Now, preventative measures if you are a horse owner, like I was explaining to you earlier, opossums have three main things that ensure them to, you know, stay alive and continue continue their life cycle, and that is same as humans: shelter, water, and food.
So that's why she would like my barn.
She would like your barn. Yes, we'll go back to that question because you had asked that earlier and we trailed off to.
Right.
So.
That's why I have trouble then, because I have the perfect setup for the possum or the raccoons to come in, of course.
Right, right. And, you know, the raccoons can carry distemper. They can carry rabies, whereas an opossum, you know, cannot. And a lot of the public, if you can zoom in on her right now, see how clean she is? She's cleaning herself.
People always say, like, oh,
they're so dirty. Right.
My dog doesn't clean its paws after he eats.
Right, right. And so we'll go back to the importance of her grooming as well with relation to ticks. But so you feed your cats. These guys are opportunists. They're scavengers. If somebody were to put out an all-you-can-eat buffet and walk away, and nobody was around, and you saw that, wouldn't you eat something off of that table? You would. And that's what the opossums do. They actually have a very rough life out there in the wild, being scavengers. If they go out and there's no food, then they don't eat for the day. They don't hibernate. They don't store fat. So in the winter, it's especially hard for these guys to survive. So if you have cat food out in the barn, that's pretty much what they're going to rely on to survive.
Can they crawl up a table to get to it?
They can climb, yes. So
they go up a tree?
They can, yes. Opossums.
Let them see her feet.
Opossums have 5 fingers, and they have 4 back fingers or back toes, and a opposable thumb. The only other.
What kind of thumb?
It's opposable, like what humans have in primates, just like ours. It's if I don't know if you can zoom in on this.
You're throwing all these big words at them. Whoa.
See your foot there. Okay. And what that does is that helps them to climb. This tail, which people think looks very rat-like, which isn't also a thing which people don't like about them, is that they have a tail. It reminds them of a rat, where they're nowhere even near related to each other. This is called a prehensile tail. It is very strong, and what that does is it helps them to grasp things for balance when they are climbing. That will help them grab from branch to branch. Now they can't swing from it or hang from it as an adult like a monkey can. But if you look here, they say this is like another finger here. It's got a little fingerprint.
Oh, my Lord.
And they also use their tail to grab nesting materials. So they will use leaves and straw and grasses to bring back into their nest with them to line it so that they stay warm.
How big can they get?
Average, Prudence is about 6 pounds, give or take, and they can range from full-grown adults 5 to 14 pounds.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
And how long will they live? I think you told me this before.
In the wild, it's 1 to 1.5. 2 is considered an elder possum. That is due to a lot of predators and their genetic disposition to early death. Males are susceptible to cardiac, heart failure, and females cancers. Now in captivity, it's twice that, so 4 years is considered an older opossum.
They have some interesting genetics that, to put it simply, basically their cells and body matures significantly faster than other sorts of mammals and things like that. So, you know, a 4-year-old in captivity opossum is like a 12-year-old dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, wow.
Just like in an older dog, cat, rabbit, whatever, you see more disease process. So since they're kind of aging faster with respect to time, you know, at 3 or 4 years in captivity, you start to see all these other things, or 1 to 2 years in the wild.
If you were to catch one, such as at my place, in a live trap, and if I decide that I'm going to do it differently and not do anything to it, are you allowed to move possums from one place to another? You're not allowed to do that to raccoons, I don't think. Displace them.
Well, with opossums, I usually, because of, you know, they're nomadic in nature. They don't generally stay in one place long unless there are the 3 components: the shelter, the water, and the food source. They will ramble on and move on within a few days to try and find another, you know, place to live.
What does she want you to do?
I think she wants to climb up on me, which she can do if she'd like to.
So kind of in summary, if you're finding them in your barn or on your property and you don't want that, maybe you should do a survey and see you know,
Right.
what you or what we are leaving out that
Right.
they're finding as kind of hospitable in a hospitable environment.
We decided.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shelter,
cat food.
food, and water.
Right, right. They are not destructive. They will not dig holes. As you can see, their hands are very fleshy and soft and delicate.
Can she hurt you with her hands? Are there nails at the end?
She does have nails. You know, they if anything, you know, they'll scratch a little bit. I keep them trimmed. She gets pedicures.
She gets pedicures.
And she's made quite a mess.
You
Yes.
just told me.
I just trim her nails like you know, our dogs or cats would. Yes, because she does not have that terrain to where it would cut the nails down for the natural terrain like the tree bark and whatnot. But
they're not sharp. I mean, you know, like
right.
a cat's using its claws to catch things.
No kidding.
They're scavengers, so they don't really have a robust, pointy, sharp,
right.
you know, means of catching things.
Correct. They have you know, two means of defense, and one is that they have 50 teeth, which
yes.
is
Tell us how many. A human has how many?
a human is 32, a dog is 42, right, and an adult cat is 30. Opossums have 50, which is the most of any land mammal.
And are they the same in the front as far as the bigger ones in the side, or the canines and that stuff, or is it all the same? Or
They have their canines, and then they have their molars, and you know, they range in you know, shape and size. And what that, you know, does is that enables them, you know, being an omnivore, they're able to eat anything. So back to diet, what they consume is, being omnivores, they'll eat vegetation, meat, insects. So gardeners out there, they love garden slugs. People call them yard angels because they do clean up the garden slugs and things we would consider pests. It's good to have them in a barn because they eat rodents.
can they catch something that's running from them, like a little mouse or a mole or something?
They can be quick, but as far as speed goes, they can run about 7 miles an hour. So they're not super fast, but if they do, because they have such incredible noses, as you can see, this elongated nose, that is their main, you know, their strongest sense. They will be able to root out things that are underground. So they can nest. If there are bird eggs on the ground, if there's earthworms, they'll dig through those. They'll find them. Amphibians, snakes. Which I'll touch on. It's a very fascinating thing about snakes with them. And ticks. They love ticks.
Well,
absolutely love ticks.
That's why a lot of people have changed their opinion, especially in this area, because we're having such a real problem with ticks.
Correct. They can consume 5,000 to 7,000 ticks in a season. How these ticks end up on them is as they're out foraging and scavenging, they will pick them up in the weeds and in the tall grasses on their fur. And as Prudence demonstrated earlier, they groom themselves. So as they're grooming themselves, they will pick up those ticks and eat them. They have a natural immunity to Lyme's disease, so they help us with you know, controlling the tick population to help us out with Lyme's disease. They have an immunity to scorpion stings, bee stings, and snake venom. So if a snake, the most poisonous snake I think is the black mamba in Australia, if the black mamba were to bite the opossum, they have a protein compound in their blood. It's called...
Opossum does?
Yes, it's called the lethal toxin neutralizing factor. And what that does is that protein will seek out the toxin and neutralize it. So benefit to us is that they're trying to replicate that protein for use in anti-venom serums, antidotes, which can help humans out because a lot of humans die per year from snake bites.
If you had two possums, a male and a female, would they live in harmony in the same cage, or will two males live in the same cage?
No, absolutely not. Opossums...
So they don't have friends?
Well, no. Opossums are solitary, they're nomadic. They only come together to mate, and then they separate after they mate, and then the female, of course, will raise her young, which she has for 4 to 5 months. If you have two captive opossums...
would they fight?
They would fight.
And one would probably get killed?
Possibly. Now, if they're siblings, and they're both neutered and spayed, that's, you know, that's another question, but you definitely, like if I were to have another opossum in the room right now, they wouldn't probably get along. It would be discouraged, yes.
Come on, doctor, what else do we need to know here? I'm utterly amazed by it.
Let's talk about playing a possum. So again, one of their main defenses is showing their teeth. So when they show their teeth, they look very scary. They appear like they are going to just attack you, tear you apart. And what that is that's really a bluff. They're fearful of you.
So if you see the teeth, the possum is in fear.
Absolutely. They're opening their mouth, they're drooling, they're saying, please leave me alone. Now, if you were to find one in a corner, like you said, in a trap, and it was doing that, best thing to do is just walk away. Leave it alone, and it'll go. The last thing it wants is confrontation. It will not chase you down, it will not go out of its way to attack you or harm you. But that is one of its means of defense. The second mean of defense is, have you ever heard the term playing possum? Mm-hmm. And that is, it's pretty much like an intense adrenaline rush. So it's the flight and it's the fight syndrome.
I don't think so.
All in one. And it's an involuntary response to stress. So if a dog were to run up upon it, or a predator or us turn a corner, there's a possum, it'll drop. It'll look like it had just keeled over. The heart rate slows down, the body temperature drops, the breathing will slow, it'll emit a death-like odor, it will drool, open its mouth, and to a predator who wants that hunt, who wants that chase,
there's no
they don't want it. There's no chase anymore. And it doesn't smell good. They emit a like a musk or odor from their anal glands, and to a predator it smells like carrion, like they've been deceased for a few days.
Wow. Why do you do this?
I do this.
And what did you work with first at Tamarack, or has it always been possum?
I started volunteering in 2014, and we have a lot of different, there's a big network of people that range from you know, phone intake,
sure,
we take calls, capture transport. We take in, we're mainly, primarily a raptor facility, which is birds of prey. Mm-hmm. So we specialize in eagles, hawks, owls, falcons, songbirds. We take in turtles, mammals such as squirrels, rabbits, opossums, non-rabies vector species. We don't take in rabies vector species. But everything has its role. Everything does. And
do you have snakes out there?
Do we have snakes? Mm-hmm. If we do get in injured snakes, we will take them.
But you don't have a bunch of snakes or anything out there?
No. Our main goal is, you know, we are a wildlife hospital. We we take in animals and we rehabilitate them, and once they everything passes, you know, they come in and get exams, and once they're good to go, our ultimate goal is release them back in the wild.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And we have currently we have 7 non-releasable ambassador birds of prey that we take on programs in addition to Prudence, and we just help educate the public on their importance in our ecosystem. And why do I do this?
Why did you pick the possum, or did the possum pick you?
Well, the possum kind of picked me. When I started volunteering, that was one of the things they needed help with. Because opossums can have up to 13 young, during baby season, we can get in a lot of opossums. This season it was 207.
207 possums
that came in alone, yes. And that's
now
not,
this isn't all one's her size. This is her with babies? Or?
The babies. And
Lord.
Adults, juveniles, etc., but mostly babies that cannot survive on their own.
So how big could somebody that you got in? I mean, it wouldn't be, like you said, maybe...
Usually about 25 grams.
Which is the size of what?
It's about the size of a small mouse.
Okay.
And it's a lengthy process of raising them.
And you can get that many at some point?
Absolutely, because the females can have, again, up to 13 babies in a litter. They get hit on the side of the road during the baby season.
If they get hit, can
the babies survive. They can survive in the pouch. Well, if it's usually, they start having babies in the longer months. The sooner you get them in, the better. They usually won't last a day without the mother's milk, and especially out in the elements.
Wow.
But they do survive the impact. So oftentimes people will know that this is baby season for opossums. If they see an opossum on the side of the road, they'll check to see if it has young. Sometimes the young will be climbing on the mother, and then they will bring them into us, and they can have 2 litters in a year. So
I was just going to ask you 2 litters. Do they go in heat?
They do, which is usually around late winter. So after late winter and then early summer, after the first litter has gone, they go through another gestation period of 2 weeks.
She wants to jump on me.
I know she does. She likes you.
I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
She does. So they go through another gestation period of 13 days, and then they'll have their second litter 2 weeks after the first litter has gone away. So they can have.
How does a male possum differ from a female possum?
How do they differ?
Yeah, except for the reproductive.
That's a loaded question.
Reproductive.
Color. Besides the reproductive, the color and everything else is the same.
Same size. You know, you can have small males and large females. You know, it just depends on you know, their location, the food source, etc.
I drive school bus, and I told my bus aide that we were going to do a possum, and I said, and whenever I catch them, generally they don't live very long. And she said, no, that's wrong. You cannot do it. If you catch them in a trap, you have to release them. And I said, I don't normally do that. And she went on and on and on about possums. And I said, whenever we're done and I finally get the tape on this, I'll tell you how you can watch it, because I didn't know. I knew probably 2 things of everything you've said. Exactly,
and that is why I feel this is so important to educate the public on opossums. I have just a deep, intense love for them. I've been working very closely with them since 2014. So, you know, I didn't really know much about them when I first started.
Well, how many possums are out at Tamarack?
Currently, they're all the wild opossums that were raised through the summer. They're released.
And where you just take them to the woods somewhere and just let them go?
We take them to, people will offer up their property if they have a water source, enough land, it's not close to neighbors, it's not close to roads, and if they have, generally I look for a food source, like if they have orchards or something to where they can survive, and we release them out there. And if they have a compost pile, that's great too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Again, I just you know, urge you just, don't hurt these guys. Slow down if you see them on the road. They're so beneficial. You know, they may not look adorable and cute and cuddly like, say, a flying squirrel would be, but I think they are, and a lot of other people do too, and they're very important
you know,
to us.
It makes me furious that people aim to hit the animals on the road, which I think is a disgrace. I've probably wrecked my car or my school bus or whatever to avoid hitting even a bunny or something. I don't like that. And I don't want to hit anything, but some people just think that that's funny, and I don't think it's funny at all.
No, it's...
Now, she's sleeping, or...?
She just ate. She's kind of zoning out right now. She's chilling out. She's taking in all the smells. I mean, we're in a vet's office right now, and she can smell things that we can't. So she's just taking it all in right now.
Now, whenever she's in captivity, does she sleep all night? Or does she have a regular, regular system, or what does she do?
What I've noticed is it varies with seasons. She was super active for about 4 hours last night. She can get up during the daytime and be active as well. It just depends. Now in the summer, she slept primarily through the day and was active in the evenings.
How big of an area is she in? How big is the cage?
She's in a room a little bit larger than this.
And she has
an exercise wheel.
She does. She has.
Is there other animals with her?
No, just her. Just her. She has places to climb. She has a. I have a 4 foot tall. It's a cat exercise wheel from a company called One Fast Cat, and she runs on that. She can run on that for about an hour. I call it Prue's cruise time, because she just walks on it, walks on it, and walks on it, much like you'd see a hamster in a wheel.
Sure.
And it's good for her, because
there's videos on Tamarack's Facebook page, I believe, of her and her exercise wheel.
Yeah.
What if somebody would ever want to have you come into their classroom or their Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, or whatever, they just call Tamarack and say they want to see Prudence?
Right. They would call us. They would contact us. We have a website, tamarackwildlife.org. We also have a Facebook, and they can absolutely request to have her. We also currently have 7 education raptors that we could bring.
Can you turn her more towards the camera so he can get a real good view of her? She might not like that, but I'm
she's got her tail.
The feet and the tail. Wow, and she's, what'd you say, three? No, year.
She's a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Right, yep. She's a year and a half.
Dr. Consla, what else do we want to know here?
I mean, my whole thought, this whole program is all about education, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, traditionally, it's done with dogs
And
and
I can
cats.
never trust you because you always call me with what about this, what about that.
But Janelle brings, Prudence and some of the other opossums in for us to look over, do different tests on, and we were just talking about how miseducated people are regarding this animal.
Me? Nothing.
And the benefits of this species is incredible. I mean, just cleaning up stuff that is waste to everything and everybody else. And I mean the ticks. Every day, I have an appointment for a dog. At least one with a tick, or that we're getting a history. They're here for something else, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it was bit by a tick." Or I found a tick, 7-8 months ago, and we're like, well, we better screen, and they come positive, for some tick-borne disease. I mean, so if we have a natural kind of preventative out there, we should foster that and take care of that. I mean, there's certainly other things we need to do for our companion animals, but there's also something we can do kind of on the natural side to help with that situation.
So if I'm trapping again, and if I trap the possum, then I call you.
You can call me.
And you'll come and get it.
I can, if you'd like.
If I put my hand on the top of, it wouldn't be what you brought in, but a regular...
Like a box trap?
A box trap, and can she get her hand out there to grab my hand?
Again, they're going to be fearful. She's probably going to play dead, cower, curl into a ball, or lay over on its side.
Well, I know with raccoons, they can bring their little paws.
Yeah, they have a different strategy.
Yeah. They do. They have a very different strategy.
Yeah.
Like I said, opossums would rather be left alone to do their thing, and that is to be nature's little sanitation and cleanup crew.
She better get word to the possums that live near me that they better stay away from my barn, my trap.
Again,
maybe you want some around.
Yeah, maybe you do.
No,
the rodents. Yeah.
No, because they like to eat
all the ticks in the fields and grass.
No, they can go through a lot of cat food, and I leave cat food out all the time.
They can. So there's balance that really has to happen there, and there's available food source. Okay. And where there's one, there will be another one because there's a food source.
Sure. Okay, 5 most important things that our audience should know. Wait, let's talk about her ears. They're just like little. They're very small.
They're small. They're hairless. And that's their second strongest sense. First is their sense of smell, and then their ears. So again, winter's very difficult on them because they don't hibernate, and because they don't have hair on their ears or their tail or their hands, they're very susceptible to frostbite.
Wow. Well, so what are the 5 things that you hope that I remember from this?
That they are very important to our environment and our ecosystem as nature's sanitation and cleanup crew, that they are proficient with cleaning up tick population, snakes. They're one of our oldest living mammals at 70 million years.
Amazed at that.
Absolutely amazing. And they're pretty much docile and gentle in their demeanor. And
here's a question for you. Would they use a litter box? Okay. I have litter boxes in the barn too. There's probably something else they like.
Well, also, what they do is, so when they're eliminating, they will find like a water source or something to where they can mask it from a predator. They have a lot of predators, including humans and vehicles, top. Second are raptors, owls, since they're both nocturnal primarily, hawks, coyote, fox, a dog.
Up in a heartbeat.
Sure, or they come in all different sizes.
Some types of hawks.
Some types of hawks can. Yeah. Eagles are primarily looking for carrion and fish, but.
Anything else we need to know? I could really thank you. I mean, I'm anxious to know all this.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. I'm grateful to reach out to the audience here and talk about them. And
yeah, I hope we can get some people out there. Can people come out to Tamarack and see the place anytime they want?
If you call and make an appointment, we can schedule an appointment to do a tour.
What about groups that go, like a Girl Scout group or something? Do groups ever go through Tamarack?
They do. We have we do our programs with schools, with groups, with clubs,
Where they come into Tamarack?
events where they, yes. We have a room where we hold programs at. Again, if you're interested in that, you can go on the website tamarackwildlife.org. You can call us or go on our Facebook page and we can schedule a program with you.
Everybody should do that.
I think so.
Yeah, let's get out there and see what's happening out there.
And they're also, I'll just plug in, they're also a nonprofit. So,
Absolutely.
I say that nonprofit.
you know, not just
Yes.
financial donations are beneficial, but they also take things like old sheets, towels, laundry detergent.
Done
Stuff
dish
like
soap.
they take at the shelter or stuff like that.
And seasonal in the summer. Possums, as you just saw, Prudence, who made a little bit of a mess here, they go through a lot of produce. So if you have an overabundance of zucchini in your garden or tomatoes, they like pumpkins.
I was going to say,
they love
there
squash.
was a lot of pumpkins I saw
Yeah.
that didn't get sold a lot of places. I wonder whatever happens.
Yeah, I do enrichment with Prudence for with pumpkins. I drill holes in them and put peanut butter and things in there
really?
where she can dig them out. But yeah, so if you have an overabundance of produce, you know, we can use that to feed not only opossums but the squirrels and the rabbits we take in as well.
Is that on your website?
Yes, yes, donations.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm just amazed. I'm not going to be her Prudence friend, but I'm at least going to respect her a little bit more than I did before.
And that's, you know, that's a start.
Yeah, it is.
It's a start.
It really is.
Thank
Well,
you.
if I catch one now, I'm calling you. I won't. We won't eliminate it if we catch it. I promise.
Please
you that.
don't. Please don't.
No, I won't. I promise you.
Call us, call your local licensed wildlife rehabilitator if you have any questions,
Well, that's
which would be
you.
us in this case. I don't
Right.
know how far the...
How far? I think this goes down towards Butler and a lot of other places, and
Okay.
of course, a lot of our programs are now on YouTube, and you can go onto YouTube under Armstrong Programming, My Dog and Me. I hope that I say it right this time. My Dog and Me, and you can see all the ones that are on YouTube. So hopefully, our cameraman Kevin here will make sure that this does get on YouTube, and a lot more people will see it.
Right.
And they'll go to their local game place instead of just coming to Tamarack. Okay, well, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Another close-up. Can we turn her again so as we're going off, they can. Did you get her on when she was crawling? On no, okay. Okay. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Mhm.